Good afternoon and welcome. We are so happy and excited to have you all here for our Medford High School, Medford Vocational Technical High School Women's History Month celebration/assembly. I'll start with remarks from the mayor. Unfortunately, she has another engagement and wasn't able to be here, but she did want me to share the City of Medford proclamation for Women's History Month. Whereas, per the National Women's History Alliance and a congressional resolution designated the month of March as Women's History Month, whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force, working inside and outside of the home. Whereas women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force. Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. Whereas women have served our country courageously in the military. Whereas women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a far more fair and just society for all. Whereas despite these contributions, the role of women in history has often been overlooked and undervalued. In the literature, teaching and study of American history. Now therefore, I, Brianna Luengo-Kern, Mayor, designate today, March 31st, 2022, as Women's History Celebration Day in the City of Medford. Now, I'm so excited to have you all hear about our amazing panel of women leaders of all races, ethnicities, and backgrounds. I'm also excited to introduce you to our student leaders who have volunteered to support this initiative today and this assembly as well. So when I call your name, student leaders, please come up to the stage so everyone can see you. Tana Alam, grade 10. Anna Capone Dozier, grade 12. Oh, stay up here. Tana, come back. Tana, come back. Christina Costa, grade 11. Baban Gill, grade 11. Eleanor Nkera, grade 10. Oprah Nkera, grade 10. Reina Paribia, grade 10. And please, another round of applause for these amazing student leaders who will be helping to facilitate our conversation today. All right, ladies, you can be seated except for Anita. So go ahead, Christina. And so now what our student leaders are going to do before we go into the panel discussion is they are going to, of course, introduce themselves and what they do in what capacity here at Medford High School, and also share the bios of our panelists. Okay? Here you go, Anita.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Anita Capone, and I'm a 12th grader here. I'm also the senior class president, and I do the drama program and rowing for the Medford High School. So I would like to introduce today Dr. Eduard Vincent, who has been the superintendent of schools here in Medford since 2018. Before becoming superintendent in Medford, Dr. Eduard Vincent served as network superintendent for the Boston Public Schools, and additionally, she has served as an elementary school teacher, an assistant elementary principal, an elementary principal, and Boston Principal Fellow during her tenure with the Boston Public Schools. Dr. Eduard Vincent strongly believes in addressing the social emotional needs of our students while addressing race, equity, diversity, and inclusion throughout the district. She continues to build Medford's learning environment upon the pillars of safety, equity, and consistency. The superintendent received her doctorate in educational leadership from Boston College, her Master of Science degree in communications/media instructional technology from Fitchburg State University, her certificate of advanced graduate studies in educational leadership from the University of Massachusetts Boston, and her Bachelor of Science degree in human development. Her elementary education and child life from Wheelock College as well. She resides in Boston with her husband and her 2 children. And now I would like to introduce Christina to read for our next person. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Actually, we're going to introduce and have come to the podium Dr. Eduard Vincent for opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My bucket is already full. Can we please give another round of applause to all of our wonderful student leaders? Thank you for your courageous leadership to help coordinate this and come up here. It takes a lot of courage, and I'm so glad to see strong student leadership. And today, again, is a wonderful opportunity for us to be here to celebrate women's history. I want to thank all of you for being in the audience, thank our teachers, counselors, all staff that are here as well. Thank you so much. So, you kind of heard my educational background and what brought me to this position right now, where I am. And I have a few remarks that I want to be able to share with you all. Good afternoon to you all. Welcome, wonderful Mustangs. I am pleased and truly honored to be a member of this outstanding panel today, and I cannot wait to hear the stories of all of the wonderful panelists this afternoon. It's my hope that by listening to everyone's stories, you also will be able to realize that your dreams should never have limits. No matter your age, your gender, whatever, no limits. Dream big. So you heard a little bit earlier, how did I become your superintendent? Well, I can share again, I am a first-generation Haitian American. I grew up in West Medford, not far from here at all. I went to the Hervey School for kindergarten, and then I went to St. Raphael's for elementary school through 8th grade, and then I continued on at Arlington Catholic. Education was very important in my household, as my parents knew that it opened doors to so many opportunities. So when I started on my educational path, I started as an elementary teacher. I did love teaching our youngest learners. And I was in the Boston Public Schools at that time. What I can share is that young children have such a hunger for learning, and their excitement is truly infectious, that their excitement made me equally excited as a teacher. So I truly believe that engaging instruction, how you as students are taught, it's important for all. My work always encompassed working with general education students, English learner students, and students with disabilities. So I worked with all learners. As my career progressed, I did become a principal, and later, as you can see standing before you, a superintendent. But throughout my entire career, my main focus has always remained on improving teaching and learning. So as I climbed the ladder, I prepared and I dreamed big, culminating in becoming the leader of my hometown, the school system here in Medford Public Schools. So I want to say that it can be done. I had a dream, and I accomplished that dream. So normally when I speak to you, I like to refer to common things that are happening right now, and Amanda Gorman is a poet that I do like to quote often. One of her poems, there is a statement that she says, "There is a light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." We gather here today to celebrate Women's History Month, which has been observed annually since 1987. This year's theme is Women Providing Healing, Promoting Hope, as a tribute to the ceaseless works of caregivers, frontline workers, and teachers who have worked during the pandemic. That's the theme of this year. And so we thank you again, teachers who are here. If there are frontline workers, can we just please give them one quick applause to say thank you, and staff. But why are we here to celebrate Women's History Month? Well, women have made much progress. We finally have a female vice president, and we hope very soon, we'll soon have another woman serving on the Supreme Court. We must continue to work together for civil rights, social justice, and freedom, so women will continue to reach higher and higher peaks. We are here in Medford, and we are all Mustangs. The Mustang fight song states, "Onward, mighty Mustangs, our hopes are pinned on you." We are hopeful that all of you will continue to shape our progress and support the full participation of all people in the United States and around the world. As Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg once said, "Women belong in all places where decisions are made. It shouldn't be that women are the exception." So that quote really resonated along with me, because women do belong, and we have a seat at the table, finally. I want to say, as we get to the panelists, D.A. Ryan, our district attorney in the olive green dress, this evening there is an opportunity at 7 o'clock for you to jump on a webinar to support what is happening and show support for Ukraine. And so there will be information that will be sent out a little later today, but I want to let you know these are opportunities for us to be able to make a difference, give back, and show our support to people in other parts of the world that are having a very difficult time. I thank you all. I thank you, and I want you all to know I am your very proud superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Eduard Vincent. Another round of applause for our superintendent, Dr. Eduard Vincent. So the next portion of the assembly, we will have students come up, introduce yourselves. Our student leaders come up, introduce themselves, and then read the bios of our esteemed panelists. Next student leader up is Christina Costa.
Hello everyone, I'm Christina Costa. I'm currently a business marketing student in the vocational school, and I'm also the president of the National Technical Honor Society. Today I'll be introducing Middlesex County District Attorney Marianne Ryan. Marianne Ryan has been the Middlesex District Attorney since 2013. Before becoming District Attorney, she served the office in various leadership positions, including General Counsel, Chief of the Domestic Violence Unit, Chief of the Elder Disabled Unit, and as Senior Counsel in the Family Protective Bureau. As District Attorney, Marianne Ryan has expanded initiatives in Middlesex County, including utilizing restorative justice practices to intervene in the lives of at-risk youth and young adults and expanding diversion. She's an advocate for reforming the criminal justice system to put in place policies to address the collateral consequences for individuals who get involved in the criminal justice system, ensuring that we continue to focus on the rehabilitation and not just punitive aspects of our legal system. She regularly lectures and leads workshops on workplace safety, teen dating violence, internet safety, and schemes that target vulnerable populations, such as immigrants and senior citizens. District Attorney Ryan has been acknowledged for her leadership on the opioid crisis and for developing other initiatives aimed at keeping children safe and protecting our seniors. She is also on the faculty of Lasalle College, where she teaches courses in constitutional law and the American legal system, and has previously taught at Emmanuel College, Wentworth, and was an instructor at Harvard Law School's Trial Advocacy Workshop. She received a JD from Boston College Law School in 1979. Marian has been a trustee of Emmanuel College since September 2017. She lives in Belmont with her husband and her 2 children. Next up, Tanha will be reading.
All right. Hi, everyone, and thanks for everyone to being here. And my name's Tana Alam. I'm a sophomore at Medford Vocational Technical High School. I am currently in the health assisting shop, and today I'm proud to introduce WBZ reporter Tiffany Chan, who is with us right on stage. And so WBZ reporter Tiffany Chan is a general assignment reporter for WBZ TV. Chan joined WBZ TV in July 2017 after spending 3 years at WWLP TV in Chicopee, Massachusetts, as their State House Bureau correspondent and fill-in anchor. During her time at Massachusetts State House, she covers political scandals, statewide elections, and controversial legislation. Chan is a graduate of Suffolk University, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Broadcast Journalism. As a Chinese American, Chan is a proud member of AAJA, which stands for Asian American Journalists Association. And now here, next, Babel will be introducing the next biography.
Hello, I'm Baban Gill. I'm the Junior Class Secretary, Portfolio Manager of CCSR, and the Health Assisting Student for the Vogue. I am super happy to welcome Massachusetts State Trooper Emily Todeska. Emily Todeska is a trooper in the Massachusetts State Police assigned to the Detective Unit for the Middlesex District Attorney's Office. Within this unit, Emily is assigned to the Special Investigations Unit. Her previous assignments on the state police have included working at various barracks and as a drill instructor at the State Police Academy. She graduated from the 82nd Recruit Training Troop for the Massachusetts State Police in 2016. Prior to her enlistment, she worked for over 3 years at the Malden Police Department as a police cadet. Trooper Todeska is a graduate of the University of New Hampshire with a dual bachelor's degree in Justice Studies and Sociology. Next up is Tegan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tegan Mastone, and I'm the treasurer of the junior class. So today, I'm super happy to welcome Dr. Chia, who's up on stage. Dr. Chia earned her Bachelor of Science Biochemistry from McGill University, where she specialized in protein crystallography. She attended Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in Baltimore, Maryland for her PhD in neuroscience in the laboratory of Dr. Solomon Snyder, studying iron signaling in the brain. After moving back to the Boston area to do her postdoctoral fellowship at Novartis Institutes for Biomedical Research, she then joined the Broad Institute as a research scientist, where she led a team of researchers on a large-scale cancer cell line profiling project, where she correlated the genetics of cancer to drug responses. Dr. Chia is now a director of high throughput science facility at the Koch Institute of MIT, where she oversees a facility outfitted with the state-of-the-art equipment and helps scientists design and execute their experiments. Dr. Chia is also a Medford resident, and her daughter is at the school of the Andrews Middle School. I'd be happy to welcome Eleanor and Oprah to please introduce Dr. Madeline Oden. Thank you, guys.
Hello, my name is Eleanor Nakara. I'm the secretary of the sophomore class, and I'm also a social media manager of the CCSR and a member of the girls' tennis team. Today I'll be introducing Dr. Madeline Oden, an assistant professor at Tufts University School of Engineering and Biomedical Engineering.
Hello, my name is Oprah Nakara, and I'm the sophomore class treasurer.
I am also a CCSR social media manager and a participant at the girls tennis team. Madeline Oden's graduate research focused on understanding the interplay between multiple signaling pathways in driving neuronal cell migration in response to growth factors during adult neurogenesis. Following the completion of her PhD from King's College, London, she completed her postdoctoral studies in Professor Frank Gertler's lab at the Koch Institute for Integrative Cancer Research at MIT. There, she investigated the process of cancer metastasis to understand what tumor cells are likely to metastasize, what pathways render them highly invasive and sensitive to local guidance cues, and the presence of highly metastatic cells. The main goal of Madeline Oden's independent research program is to investigate the role of the various components of the tumor microenvironment in driving tumor metastasis and drug resistance, using an interdisciplinary approach that will combine cell biology, microfluidics, intravital imaging, systems biology, and implantable devices. Dr. Uden received her PhD in neuroscience from King's College London and her Master of Science degree in pharmacology also from King's College. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in biochemistry from McGill University in Montreal, Canada. She has completed her postdoctoral work in Professor Frank Gertler's lab at the Koch Institute for Integrative Cancer Research, trying to understand how metastasis, the dissemination of tumor cells throughout the body, occurs and how it affects response to chemotherapy. Dr. Uden grew up in Paris, France, in a multicultural environment, and when she is not working hard in the lab, she enjoys traveling around the world, discovering new places, and doing high-risk, high-adrenaline sports, like flying trapeze and rock climbing. To find out more about her research, you can check out her podcast. And next up, Raina will be presenting Georgiana Chevry.
Hi, my name is Raina. I'm in the sophomore class in the school, and I am part of the John Apollon dance program and track team. I am here to introduce Georgiana Chevry. Georgiana Chevry is a mother, longtime resident of Medford, and proud first generation Haitian college and graduate school completer. She is the former governor-appointed commissioner to Medford Public Housing Authority Board for 8 years and former candidate for Medford City Council. Currently, Georgiana is the Director of Basic Needs Security Program and Policy at Massachusetts Department of Higher Education. In her capacity, she oversees the systemic level policy response to basic needs security in Massachusetts college population. Georgiana brings to this week over 15 years plus of experience that includes increasing faculty and collaborations while transforming Massachusetts talent pipeline diversity for historically marginalized groups and racially minoritized populations. She increased the public high school and college graduation rates through Mayor Menino's Success Boston Initiative, Massachusetts Life Science Internship Challenge, and Hack.Diversity. Georgiana holds a BA in Sociology from Trinity College and Master's in Higher Education Administration from Suffolk University. She is currently a neighborhood fellow pursuing a second master's in public policy in Tufts University.
Thank you, Raina, and thank you, wonderful student leaders, for sharing the biographies of our panelists. And I'm just gonna, so we know who the panelists are, I'm just gonna say your names and ask that you stand, and we'll wait for a round of applause until we get to Ms. Georgiana Chevry. But Dr. Eduard Vincent, please stand. Thank you. Let's hold the applause, if you can. DA Marion Ryan. Tiffany Chan. Trooper Emily Todeska. Dr. Madeline Uden. I'm sorry. Dr. Jamie Chia. And Miss Georgiana Chevry. Thank you again. And now we will have two of our student leaders lead us into a discussion session with the panel. So they're going to ask you all a series of questions. So I'm going to ask for Christina and Anita to come to the stage.
You, sister.
Hi, ladies. How are you? I believe it. Trust me. So, we got some questions for you today.
So the first question is, what woman in your life has shaped you or your career trajectory? Who would like to answer that to start?
So again, I'm Georgiana Chevry, and I just want to say thank you for this kind gift. And I'm honored to even be considered to share my story with you and be part of this distinguished panel. I very much appreciate it. And this is actually interesting response, and you probably all can appreciate because you're teenagers, but I regret to say, but I'm proud to say, my mother. And I say that because my mother, from a very young age, she knew that I would be in the spaces changing policy and politics for students that look like me, and for students that come from first-generation families and families of immigrants. And I didn't think so. I thought I was going to be a civil engineer building bridges. But then recently I appreciate talking to my mom about that, because I say, you know what, we both were right. Right, you were right because you pinned it right in terms of where I would be, but I was also right because I actually get to build bridges for people's lives. And so my mother, I admire her courage, having left a country and everything that she knows with my father to come here and start all over, even though they had been fully educated as professionals in their own right back in Haiti. And so I think that there's a lot of courage on this panel. And I think for all of you going out into this world now, it takes a lot of courage to live the dreams that you want. So whoever pours into you, I encourage you to listen to them, even though you might not agree right now. They might be right.
Would any of you guys like to share?
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. So for me, I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, and growing up, I really didn't have anyone in my family who had been a scientist, who was interested in science. One of my parents hadn't gone to college, so I never really had exposure to what that was like. And so, but for me, what helped even when I was a teenager, I started watching medical TV shows. Old school ER, currently maybe Grey's Anatomy or any other medical show. And for me, that really showed me, these scientists, these doctors that were interfacing with patients, that were saving people's lives, that were, fascinated and interesting by the biology of how human worked. And just seeing that, I was like, wow, this was what really hooked me into trying to understand, how our bodies work and to find ways to help people with different diseases. So even if within, my community, I didn't have anyone that I could look up to that, kind of had that passion, I was able to find it in other places. And then, once I got to university, I really, all these female professors that inspired me. There were so many along the way that are still mentors of mine today. So then I was able to kind of, see what they were doing and go on, and have them inspire me into becoming a professor and a researcher.
Anyone else?
Okay, so the next question I'm going to ask are, what are some barriers in your field that you were able to overcome? So who would like to start with that?
Hi, how's it going? Tiffany, I work for Channel 4. My very first job out of college was a political reporter at the State House. I just remember when I signed this contract, I was like, who's the governor? I literally knew absolutely nothing about politics. And I just remember walking into this building, DA Ryan, this is a building full of men in suits. Here I am, 22 years old, nervous out of my mind, one of probably maybe a dozen women in this building. And I just remember, you have to tell yourself when you're nervous, when you're scared. I mean, in so many situations, we can feel those, nervousness and everything like that, just to feel like you got to kick that, right? And I remember my first press conference, and I'm like here with veteran reporters who have been in this job for like 10 years. nervous to ask a question. And I think you just got to pull that confidence out of you, shake those nerves. And especially as a woman, right, when you're working in a lot of these men-dominated fields, you really just have to find that confidence. And I think that's a really big barrier, is just finding what you're comfortable with, being true to yourself, and at the end of the day, it'll all work out.
I would just echo a lot of what Tiffany said. When I started as an assistant DA, there were very few women practicing criminal law. It wasn't like what you see on Law and Order. And the very first case that I ever tried, and this gives you sort of an idea of the setting, the judge continued to refer to all of the lawyers as gentlemen. So he obviously couldn't see that I wasn't a guy. He just kept calling us all gentlemen in front of the jury. And it also happened that the first day of trial, which was November 10th, is the U.S. Marine Corps birthday. And everybody else who was on the case, the judge, the clerk, the two other lawyers, all of whom were men, had been Marines. So when we walked in the morning to get ready, they all kind of stood up and did this secret Marine handshake to celebrate the birthday. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. And as Tiffany said, it is just really a question of kind of digging deep yourself and thinking, I deserve to be here, and I'm going to make an impact on what's happening here. And just letting a lot of those other things not distract you from what you're doing. And that's very different now, and that is because of the work of a lot of women who went ahead of us.
Sorry, I can echo to a lot of that too. Emily Todeska with the State Police. So I get called sir on the radio probably 90% of the time I ever get on it. Not their fault, my voice is pretty deep, but just being a Mass State Trooper, there's only 4% female on the job. We're the lowest in the country for Mass State Police. The statistics might be a little bit higher in the last couple of years, but that was as of 2018. So when I went through the academy, there was 172 of us, and there was 8 females in the class. So we faced a lot more scrutiny than our male classmates because we were easily identified. When I went through, we had to cut our hair. That's no longer a policy. They changed that. But we had to cut our hair. We had a boys regular. I kind of kept it going. It looks a little bit better at a mullet for a long time. But yeah, it's a male-dominated field, and I can echo a lot of what the other two panelists just said. You definitely have to prove yourself more. You have to prove yourself that you have enough strength to be out there with the guys. So that's definitely something I've faced in my career.
Would anybody else like to answer? All right. Next question is, how important have mentors been to you in life and your professional career? Who would like to start?
Hi, I'm Jamie Chia. I'm also a scientist. And I have to say that I would not be a scientist had it not been for the female mentors in my life. I was very lucky. I grew up here in Boston. MIT and Harvard are in my backyard. So as a high school student, I was actually able to join labs and do research side by side with female mentors. And had it not been for them, I probably wouldn't have chosen the path that I took. I find it important now to be that female mentor for young students. And my colleagues next to me are also my mentors. And I will speak to part of what the last question was, is when I have faced barriers at work, because it is a male-dominated society, my colleagues who are mentors and female have echoed and amplified my voice when I've said something and expected to be heard, and for me to be in that same airspace with everybody else, and without them, none of us would be where we are.
I'll just add in terms, I just wanted to advertise this. For those of you that are interested in science and engineering, the Tufts BME program has reopened this summer. Our high school program for research, 6 weeks free program to do research in our department. It's called Tufts Tubers. So if you are looking for mentors in the science, biology space, please contact me or us about that, because that's really critical. And we want to help you and inspire you if you're interested in that.
I'm going to add about the question of mentors. I don't know how many of you know what public policy is, because honestly, I didn't until I got into it. Public policy are the people who set guidelines, laws, and regulations for what you can and cannot do. And in my case, working with the Department of Higher Education, it's about everything higher education. So many of you are soon going off to higher education institutions, whether they're publics and privates, here in Massachusetts or around the country. And there's a great responsibility, right, in being an educated person. And I think that one of the things I want to share is that what has been my thread of mentorship, because I actually started out in higher education as an administrator and a faculty teaching. This was not, like I said, my mother was right, but this was not my end game. And so I've had several different careers actually over the course of my 20 plus years being a professional. So I think one of the things to understand also probably for your generation as well, particularly you women, your end game is not going to be necessarily what you know right now. And so there are different mentors through different industries throughout your career, even starting now. Your teachers, your athletic directors, coaches, any other extracurriculars that you're doing. These are individuals who all have led really full lives and are still really engaged. And so I want to encourage you to remember that, because for me, I played a lot of sports coming up through grade school, high school, and in college. And my coaches, they connected me to a lot of different people. I mentioned to you that I'm first generation. So I didn't have a ready built network here in this country that my parents could tap into for me. And that was very, very challenging. However, having these wonderful relationships through the different sports that I played, and by the way, I snowboard now. If you guys love that, talk to me later. It's something to really consider. So whoever those people are, just be willing to be vulnerable and talk to them about whatever your dreams are. And that's what I did. And that was hard because I wasn't sure if they would take me seriously. But the reality is that most educators do. And as Dr. Eduard Vincent said, they're all in this work because they want to support your future goals. And so just know that, and know that your mentors are all around you, and that they may change as you grow throughout your process of figuring out how you want to make an impact in the world.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. What advice would you give young women today? Who wants to start?
Thank you. Advice that I would give to young women, you who are out there today, and just piggybacking on what has already been said, it doesn't matter what you want to do, just pursue your dreams. I think it's important for you to think about whatever interests you as you think about going to college or going on to a career. You want to be able to get up every day and not get up with dread and regret. And so for me, education was what filled my bucket, made me very happy. For someone else, it could be, you know, especially here at the high school, it could be, you know, you want to be a cosmetologist, or you are in health assisting and you want to work with the sick, or you want to be an electrician or a mechanic, or you want to be a teacher or a doctor, a scientist, a lawyer, a state trooper, a news anchor. There are so many paths. If you want to go into communications or be a journalist, there are so many paths that are out there. But what's most important is you find something that you are passionate about. And I would encourage you to talk with your guidance counselors, talk with your teachers and other friends, where you can do some of those assessments where it kind of tells you, you know, it's almost like a personality test, but not quite that, where it kind of points you in a direction of something that you want to study. But I think what's most important is you study something that you're passionate about and you're happy about. Don't only think about money, because that is a mistake. I would say that some people think, I want to do something where I'm going to make a lot of money. And, you know, I know people who study things and said, you know, I want to be this, I want to be a nurse, and then they get the degree, and then they're like, you know what, I don't like working with sick people. And then they end up doing something completely different. So don't think about the money. Think about what you're passionate about, what's going to make you happy, and think about something that you feel like you can make a difference in the world. So that's my advice to you.
And I would give you some much more general advice. Excuse me. I'm sure that everybody in this room has done things that didn't go perfectly. You played a game and it wasn't your best day. You took a test and it wasn't your best performance. You had a conversation with somebody and you said something you wish you hadn't said. And everyone, but particularly women, tend to spend a whole lot of time beating ourselves up about those things. You replay it over and over again in your head. What should I have done differently? How come I didn't do this? What do they think about me? First of all, nobody's thinking about you as much as you think they are, all right? And second of all, that's all fine, but I bet the same people who spend their time doing that, when you do something really well, when you're like the young women today who get up and speak in front of several hundred people, hopefully they go home tonight and think, I was really awesome today. I did something incredible. And we don't spend enough time savoring the really good things we do and thinking about how accomplished we are. Every one of you will probably do something today that is really kind. You got some answer right that was really hard. You did really good work on something. Spend 2 minutes before you go to sleep tonight thinking through those. Sometimes your brain takes you to all the things that didn't go well. Make sure you give equal time to all of the things that you did that were kind, that were talented, and that were special about you, because that's where you get the confidence that we talked about to move forward.
I feel like that was the motivational speech I needed this morning. But honestly, I think a lot of it is taking the initiative. I have friends even today in their 30s who ask me, should I go for this job? Should I apply? Should I do this? And I always tell them, what's the worst that could happen? That they say no. And I think the hardest part is taking that initiative, putting together that resume, putting your name out there, making those calls. I think that's so important. And for women, I know sometimes, as you said, it can be tough. You're our own worst enemy sometimes, but honestly, just going for things makes such a big difference, because that's honestly how I got to Boston. I probably would have had maybe 2 stops before I got here, and I got here in a lot shorter time because I simply just put my resume out there, put my highlight reel out there, and it ended up in the good hands of someone who gave me a chance. So that's all I have to say.
So I'm going to add this advice because I'm also a mother. And so if you ever choose this journey or whatever caretaking role you have for women, along with what we were talking about before, your self-care is so important to prioritize. And I don't know about you, but being a teenager can be really stressful. And I think because as women, we tend to analyze a lot of things and hold a lot of information and know a lot about a lot of things that usually have nothing to do with what our goals are, is to remember to take some time and take care of you, and to get mantras or things that motivate you, because when we were talking earlier about barriers, that's what's going to carry you through, is the self-talk that you have in your head. Because sometimes you're not going to be able to pick up the call, call a friend, call whoever you trust for that advice to push you through that moment. So when you really take some time to just love on yourself, it takes you so far, and it will carry you through those really difficult moments that will happen. And the reality is we're all imperfect, so just remember that. That's just part of the process.
Thank you very much for all those responses.
Thank you all. It's 2:15, so we're going to end the panel questions. Another round of applause for our panelists today. And I'd like for our student volunteers to stay behind, even if the bell rings, so that we can take pictures. I just want to hand this over to Mr. DeLeva so that he can close us out.
Okay, everyone, so before everyone moves, hold on. Bell hasn't rung yet. I want to remind you of my first quote, that behind every man, there's an even more successful woman, and there can be no more successful people that are standing behind me right now at this stage. So please give them a great round of applause.